Hello and welcome to another episode of Vogue Caribbean. I am your host, Malika Critchlow, and we are going to continue reading from L'Esprit. Just a gentle reminder, L'Esprit, people say that L'Esprit are the spirits we sometimes see, are the souls of those who died without finding peace. In different parts of the Caribbean, they may be called jumbies, jack-o'-lanterns, ghosts, or duppies. Certain times and seasons, spirits have greater freedom to move about and to show themselves to human beings in unusual encounters. So today we're going to continue with this series. The story I'm going to read is The Locked Room, and then I think it's The Guitarist. No, there's another story after that. So I got some other stories here. There's a third story, but it's a long, so I don't know if I'll do that one today and save it till next week. But anyway, that is what we're up to today. What are you guys up to? I am really proud of Trinidad and Tobago for recognizing Gaza as a state. Is it Gaza or Palestine? Hold on, let me make sure and give the correct information. Because we're looking at things from a Caribbean perspective, right? So we started with folklore, but we hope to expand from that. Let's see. I can't find it. Let's see, hold on. I have another thing to check. I cannot believe I cannot find this now. This is so weird. Yeah, I can't find it. I think they recognized Gaza as a state. I think that's what the headline was. I am still here. I'm still looking at it because I think it's important. Yes, Palestine. Trinidad and Tobago recognizes Palestine as a state. I think that is amazing. Also, I said CARICOM members, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago. It's not just Trinidad. The recognizes Palestine as a state. Amazing, amazing. So yeah, I just wanted to say I'm really, really proud to be a Trini today. And this is this is big to me. Trinidad and Barbados and Jamaica, oh, they're big in the dance, man. But anyway, so we're gonna start with the folklore story. Um, the locked room. Ignatius Dolly was a self-made man who, according to him, was given nothing by his parents but his name. By the time he reached his 50th birthday, he was master of a thriving cocoa estate and employed more than 100 workers. No one could deny that Dolly was a good provider for his family, but even they would argue that he was a hard man. Nothing for nothing. That's my motto. I pay a fair day's wage for an honest day's work, and that's more than most of my kind can say, was Dolly's constant boast. And anyone in trouble was foolishness in appealing to Dolly for help. He had neither sympathy nor money to waste. He built a comfortable house for his large family. As his wealth grew, he added another building where he carried out his business transactions. The building had 3 rooms used as offices. One was kept locked, and no one but Dolly allowed to enter it. One day, a new overseer came to work on the estate and was immediately curious about the locked room. He was a man who couldn't bear to leave a mystery unsolved. And he was determined to find out what Dolly kept there. He began to hang about the vicinity of the building after work, and one night he saw Dolly enter the office. He pressed his ear against the wall, but the wall was so thick that the sounds within were muffled. When Dolly failed to appear at midnight, the overseer gave up his watch and went to his quarters. From that time, the overseer doubled his efforts to find a way of entering the locked office, but every plan failed. After a year, it was clear that the only way into the room was through the door. There was only one key which would open it, and that key was in a chain which Dolly wore around his neck, awake and asleep. Then one night the overseer saw Dolly enter the room, and this time he did not lock the door behind him. The overseer's heart gave a leap, and after quickly looking around to see that no one else was in sight, he approached the door. It was slightly ajar, and there was a peculiar light, not sharp and bright like the light given off by an electric bulb, but a warm golden glow. The overseer pushed the door open and stepped into the room at the same time. The room was lit not by lamp, candle, or electricity, but by a figure seated behind a desk in one corner in the room. A figure with the body of a man and a head of a bull. From his head emanated a golden glow, which made a pool of light in the dark room. As the overseer watched in amazement, the head began to grow larger and larger, and the circle of light widened in circumference until the overseer stood within it. The blood pounded in his head, and his eyes bulged with fear. Terror and fascination held him spellbound for what seemed to him an eternity. Finally, he came to his senses and ran from the room. Carried by his instinct for survival, he ran from the estate far, far away from the dread apparition. Hours later, Dolly came out of the room with a smug look on his face. As he locked the door, he said to himself, "Another spying busybody who will never cross this threshold again." In the morning, the police paid a visit to Dolly's estate to confirm that one of his workers had been found about 3 miles away, lying dead in the side of the road. Cause of death has been diagnosed by the doctor as a massive heart attack. So what do you think? Dolly was the Minotaur? I think so too. One time I saw a story where this lady was saying she saw in a past life she was a Minotaur, and that she had to learn from that past life rage. And that's what she said they used her in war, and that she was just always enraged and she could kill people with her horns. That's what she said she found in her past life. So sometimes these things sound like fairy tales, but you never know. Maybe these creatures existed or they still exist. Never know. All right, the next story, the guitarist. Joe was always in demand for the singings or community evenings held in villages which were too far away from the city to enjoy his attractions. He was an excellent guitarist, and when he wasn't performing on his own, he accompanied the singers and dancers who attended the singing. After singing, someone was sure to offer Joe a lift back to his village. But on one occasion, he found himself stranded miles away from his home with no choice but to set out on foot. It was a dark night. There wasn't a soul to be seen on the road, not even a cat or a dog. So Joe began to strum his guitar to hearten himself with the lonely journey ahead. Joe had heard many stories about strange things seen at night on that road, but he told himself that most of the people who related these stories had been drinking heavily. All the same, as he came to a crossroad known to be the haunt of La Jablas, I can't pronounce it, La Jablas, I think it's La Jablas they're trying to say, and other restless spirits, he strummed his guitar loudly to drown the rising clamor of fearful thoughts in his head. In the quiet of early morning, the tune was sharp and strong, and Joe began to move to the rhythm, but all while his eyes was fixed on a point ahead of him, where four roads met. The nearer he got, the more convinced he was that someone was standing in the middle of the road. He hoped with all his heart that he was wrong, and that the shape was only a shadow cast by an overhanging tree. The man stood so still he might have been a statue, and it was only when Joe was within arm's length of the figure that he saw any sign of life. The man was quite tall, and so thin that his clothes hung on him as though they were thrown over a wire frame. There was a musty smell about him. It was too dark to see who the man was or what he looked like, and when he spoke, his voice had a rasp to it, which set Joe's teeth on edge. "You play a real fine guitar for a youngster," said the man, falling into step with Joe. Just a little while before, Joe would have given anything to meet another human being, but somehow he was not keen to have this man as a companion. Nevertheless, his motto was better to be safe than sorry, so he was as polite as his unease would allow. "It's nothing special, but I like to keep my hand in. What about you, man? Can you play guitar too?" asked Joe. "Let me try a guitar, and we'll see if I can match you," replied the man. Joe handed over his guitar, and the man began to play so gently and softly that Joe had to listen closely to hear the tune. He had never heard such a mournful air. But soon the music changed. The tune became wild and the rhythm fast, and there was a harshness about it which drew a response from every nerve in Joe's body. Suddenly, there was a new tone on the moon, and the music became light and enchanting. Joe felt as if he were borne in the air like a blown-up balloon. He was floating on a current of music and would follow it to the ends of the earth and beyond. And then the music stopped. Joe came down to earth with a shock as he realized he was standing in front of his house. The night clouds were slowly dispersing. The man handed the guitar to Joe, who was still dazed. "Man, that was guitar music like I never heard in this world before," said Joe. "True," said the man. "You should have heard me when I was alive." The end. That's the end of the story. Anyway, so that's it for today. What else is going on in the Caribbean? I'm missing some Caribbean food, man. I'm trying to cook it, but it's not the same as when your aunties and them cook. But what I gotta do? I gotta make do with what I got. I only have my hand to taste. Anyway, guys, hope you have a great day, a great week, and we'll be back next weekend for another episode of Vogue Caribbean Podcast. Have a great day. Bye.